Professor Castleberry here, fielding questions from students in PR advertising and brand management, Com 3533, and we're just working down the list and trying to get in as many of these week one questions as we can. Trying to see if we had another question from Megan that we have time for. Okay, what role does, and this is good because it ties into one of our key themes in this course, our key terms in this course, integrated marketing, IMC, integrated marketing communication. What role does integrated marketing play in creating a brand's image as opposed to the role of or impact of traditional marketing? All right, so image, branding. And let's recognize this. Social media, okay? Social media is a connective tissue for brand management, especially, that traditional advertising lacks. Okay, so traditional advertisement, to get something on TV, even radio, it's quicker to get something on the radio because you're not having to deal with the video dynamics of it. But even radio, like television, it can take a while to get that. You have to produce the content. You have to have a strategy. It has to go through checks and balances. I mean, there is a lot that goes into a campaign. Okay, it is an arduous process, and that's why it can become a highly expensive process. Social media, on the other hand, is far less expensive, although its reach is different. Okay, but what you do get is the immediacy of being able to execute something so much faster and with relative frequency at a nominal cost, unless you're paying a lot of money for it to be promoted heavily, in which case you could still spend quite a bit of money. But that's where you can manage the image of something. We think about maybe traditional advertising in waves of campaigns, campaign strategies, but brand management on social media is about continuity, consistency, fluency, and more and more. I'm seeing interactivity as I study people as brands, as I study promotional products as brands on social media. Kimberly asked a great question this week, coming out of the Berger Ads, Fads, and Consumer Culture text. If everyone, including myself, is annoyed by the constant bombardment of advertising, how does it ever work? All right, this is a great question. It's a trick question. It works because it gets the product, the logo, the brand, the idea inside our head, with repetition of that message, no matter how annoying, right? It becomes easier to recall later, if not unconsciously persuasive. So you could actually hate an ad, but it's unconsciously persuasive to you, because let's say it's some car commercial, all right, annoying ad featuring I don't know, a goofy stereotypical animated tire, and this tire is saying it's taunting people, it's being obnoxious, maybe it has a corny accent, and you're just like, I can't handle this. Who approved this? Right? And you think, this is terrible, and they're wasting their money. Driving down the road a month later, 3 months later, 2 weeks later, 2 years later, lo and behold, flat tire, and you find yourself stuck. Your AAA, let's say your AAA or OnStar services just expired or something, right? You're like, how am I gonna? What am I gonna do? What's the first thing? I've never encountered this before, right? I've never had this problem, and you think, oh yeah, what was that car company that commercial, right, with the dumb tire? And then you remember, and then you're like Googling it on your phone, and then you call them, and then they have a service that meets that immediate emergency need. Well, that dumb campaign, just paid off, and it was investment in the future, right? So we never know how it's going to work, but that penetration of the audience, getting to the audience, letting them hear your brand, your name, your whatever, is more effective than we realize as consumers. There's a question about the Blakeman text. Isn't word of mouth in the form of influencers, quote unquote, still one of the best ways to advertise? Absolutely. But we can think about shifts and changes, and we often refer to social media influencers now. And here's a shift that images in my head. You used to have this idea of the door-to-door salesman, and typically a man like the traveling salesman. He's got like almost a fedora hat and a coat on and a briefcase, and traveling around the country selling things out of his briefcase and so on. And people were shut off to that. This is one of the reasons we also kind of fled to the suburbs. The no solicitation yard markers or gated communities and so on. We're kind of shutting that traffic down. At the same time, we see this rise in an equivalent on social media today, right? And just like I would demographically pigeonhole that door-to-door salesperson as a salesman, right? You think about, and I'm thinking all the way back to before my time, 1950s America, 1960s America, 1970s America. That's like the famous play, Death of a Salesman, right? What Glengarry Glen Ross, right? The stage play, the film. This sort of what it means to live in that kind of climate and that kind of stress. But I see it today on social media, and I would flip the gender script. Now I can find I can actually find highly successful males all over social media peddling types of products, particularly very lucrative products. And in fact, YouTube, Twitter, I see a lot of masculine presence pushing products, but I see equal, if not more, female presence pushing products. And on the professional end, definitely all platforms. But when I think about Facebook specifically, I've seen a lot of typically women-driven products being promoted. Is that the term we can safely use there? On Facebook, and I think it's become an interesting place, right? There's a lot of case studying potential on a platform like that, and a lot of female acquaintances pushing products on Facebook. So, some highly effectively, and maybe even some to many ineffectively. Why? Okay, great question here. While there are a lot of advantages to newspaper advertising, such as it is inexpensive, reader loyalty, and frequency of print, there are many disadvantages. What type of business could really benefit from this type of advertising? Our week one theme, newspaper or print advertising, rather. Not limited to newspaper, but print advertising. I'd say this: local small businesses in a larger metropolitan area benefit from print advertising. All right, any business within a large metropolitan area directly wanting the traffic from the local demographics, you advertise in print there in that big market. And then actually the reverse of that, but a parallel, let's call it a parallel, local small businesses in small towns, all right, where those newspapers are still alive, they can be a kind of life thread in the community, okay?